Among the many items that will not be appearing in this week's podcast, emergency alpaca arbitration, in which 3 alpacas settle neighbourhood disputes using nothing but prolonged eye contact. This is Luff Actually.
From the Broadway Radio Theatre, where the fire exits are purely decorative, it's Luff Actually, starring Ellie Jade, Barry Combover, the genie of the lava lamp, and Ophelia Zodiac, who once predicted the rise of red squirrels. Plus, a stable of supporting performers who are shoeless, homeless, and yet still inexplicably employed. Copies of The Big Issue are available now in the foyer. Now please welcome the man whose enthusiasm is as chronic as his sinusitis, Mr. Brian Luff.
In a major or minor key, it's Luff Actually.
Welcome to Luff Actually, the only podcast that can't be bothered to set up an Instagram feed and is still recorded on analogue quarter-inch tape. Today's designated emotion is purposeful bewilderment, because digital media has become far too cocky lately, and everyone deserves 45 minutes every week of nodding thoughtfully at content that does not hold up to detailed inspection. And the warning label on this week's episode is may cause unwarranted confidence in pointless information. Always read the label.
Thank you for calling Luff Actually. Your call is important to us. If you have been challenged to a duel by a French aristocrat, press 1. If your houseplants are staging a military coup, press 2. If you are a professional yodeler with permission to work in this country, press 3. For all other matters, please stay on the line. You are number 1243 in the queue.
Coming up at the end of the show, another brand new song from Sonny Keys, but let's kick this nonsense off right away with Before They Were Them, in which I read out 3 previous jobs that a famous person has had, and you have to tell me who that famous person is. These are the jobs: lion tamer, background dancer, and child actor. The answer to that coming up at the end of the show. In the meantime, our old friend Gus the Sofa is here. How are you, Gus?
I'm reasonably well, thank you, Brian. The stitches are healing nicely.
And what have you got to report this week?
Well, Brian, this week I attempted to use one of those smart thermostats. You know the sort: sleek, minimalist, and quietly judgmental. This thermostat no longer has a simple dial. No, that would be too human. Instead, it offers an app, which I had to download, update, and pair with the device, as though introducing 2 reluctant colleagues at a work function. Once connected, it presented me with a series of options: eco mode, comfort setting, adaptive climate intelligence. I don't want adaptive intelligence, Brian. I want it to be warm. That's the entire brief. I tried turning the temperature up, but the thermostat resisted. It suggested that 18 degrees was optimal for my lifestyle. It has never met me. It doesn't know my lifestyle. My lifestyle is being slightly cold at all times. I overrode it, of course, but an hour later it quietly reset itself, like a passive-aggressive butler. I found myself arguing with it, out loud. At one point I said, "I pay the bills," which felt significant. The thermostat did not respond. It simply dimmed its display, as if withdrawing from the conversation. I've decided to wear an extra jumper instead, Brian. It's less efficient, but at least it doesn't have opinions.
Gus the Sofa, proving that getting old really is as bad as everyone thinks. Up next, Bee Time, live from the hive with Barry Combover.
Thanks, Brian. Ow! People think beekeeping is rustic and wholesome. It is not. Ow! It is tiny livestock management with emotional complications. Last winter, I spent 3 straight hours out worrying whether the hive was too cold. 3 hours? I don't even worry about my mother with that level of commitment. I stood outside in the rain listening to buzzing through a wooden box. Ow! Like a Victorian doctor diagnosing ghosts. The bees survived, by the way. Better than me. Ow! I developed a cough that sounded like grating walnuts. You know what nobody tells you? Bees absolutely hate sudden movements. Ow! Which means the entire hobby is essentially try not to behave like prey. You approach slowly, calmly, and with respect. Ow! Which unfortunately is exactly how I once approached a swan before it attacked me outside a garden center. I had a nightmare recently where the bees unionized. Tiny picket lines outside the hive. Little signs saying, more flowers, less smoke. One bee, ow! Wearing little reading glasses was acting as their spokesperson. Very articulate, slightly French accent. Ow! Honestly though, there's something deeply moving about opening a beehive. The sound alone, ow! Tens of thousands of insects, all agreeing on a single purpose. Humans can't even organize a queue for sandwiches. Anyway, ow, that's the bee situation.
Barry Combe over. My rant of the week now, an item we like to call Nuff Said.
Nuff said.
Today's rant concerns queue discipline. Yes, there are 2 types of people in a queue. The first type understands the queue, the concept of the queue. They see the queue, they join the queue, they become one with the queue. The second type arrives with the confidence of a diplomat and begins asking questions like, is this the line? While standing visibly beside 23 people arranged in the internationally recognised shape of waiting in line. Then comes the drifting, tiny experimental movements, one step, then another. Suddenly they're not in the queue, they're conducting exploratory research adjacent to it. And of course nobody says anything. Everyone makes eye contact that silently means, are we all seeing this? And eventually someone politely says, excuse me. The queue jumper acts astonished. Oh, were you all waiting? No, we gathered here in coats and expressions of resignation because this is Britain's newest outdoor immersive theatre production. Repeat after me. People who jump queues should have their heads boiled in oil. Nuff said.
Nuff said.
Time now to take a pause for the benefit of our collective well-being. Yes, it's the critically acclaimed Colouring Outside the Lines with the Colouring Lady.
Time once again for Colouring Outside the Lines with me, the Colouring Lady. For the next few seconds, your obligations will be placed on a chair and asked to wait. Well-being will be your only master. Before you is a line drawing of 2 penguins examining a map and a selection of coloured markers. The map is upside down. This has not been addressed. Begin colouring now. Start with the map, it deserves clarity. Then move to the penguins. First one, then the other. One penguin after another. Their feathers could be black and white, or perhaps an experimental teal. The map might be coloured realistically, or with quiet defiance for reality. The penguins are watching you with calm reliance. 3 seconds left. And markers down. Regard your work. It is concluded. Reward yourself by sitting in a comfortable chair. That was this week's edition of Colouring Outside the Lines. Back to you, Brian.
Thanks to the Colouring Lady. Time now to play alive, dead or fictional. And this week's randomly selected subject is Tommy Handley. Alive, dead or fictional? The answer to that coming up at the end of the show. Shall we summon the genie of the lava lamp? Yes, I think we shall.
Hello there, mortal. I am the genie of the lava lamp. I have considered your 3 wishes, Mr. Luff, and I agree to grant them. Your first wish is to hit the unsubscribe button, and for it to actually work, I hereby grant that wish. Digital marketing departments around the world are already starting to feel a sudden chill. Your second wish is to run into your ex-wife looking amazing. Granted, you will glow radiantly. Unfortunately, you will be holding a rotisserie chicken and a plate of burgers at the time. Interpret that as you will. Your third wish is to always pick the fastest moving checkout line at the supermarket. Granted, it will always be the fastest. It will be efficient. The checkout assistant will compliment you on your aura. However, you will always forget one essential item and must return to the rear of the queue every time. Your wish is my command, O Master.
The genie of the lava lamp, thanks for nothing. Horoscopes for your cat now, and the first of our 3 astrological signs today is Leo. Your cat's lucky number is 417. Its lucky colour is heritage bronze. Today your cat should avoid making lewd promises to Uber drivers, regardless of how amorous it feels after breakfast. At approximately 11:18 a.m, your cat will become convinced that a folded towel in the bathroom is an independent financial advisor. Around lunchtime, your cat will discover a dramatic new walking style involving excessive dignity and several ceremonial pauses to urinate into houseplants. Late afternoon brings an unexpected encounter with a celebrity when your cat becomes briefly mistaken for a member of the entourage of Claudia Winkleman. Your cat should neither confirm or deny this. Capricorn, your cat's lucky number is 662. Its lucky colour is Dorset Cream. Your cat begins the day attempting to supervise routine household activity from an elevated position. Do not challenge its authority unless you have the appropriate paperwork available. Prediction 2. Your cat will develop a short-lived fascination with cutlery and spend 22 minutes inspecting a dessert spoon as if expecting a confession. Prediction 3 arrives after sunset when your cat notices a distant object and decides that it has personal significance. This object does not have personal significance to your cat. Nevertheless, it will remain committed to the narrative and retire to bed early to think about it. Aquarius, your cat's lucky number is 904. Its lucky colour is antique white. Morning energy favours unusual networking opportunities. Your cat may spend several minutes introducing itself to a particular piece of furniture and expecting reciprocal response. Midday suggests adventure. Your cat will attempt to enter a room with such determination that everyone will assume that some kind of national emergency is underway. At precisely 5 p.m, your cat will cough up a fur ball into a bowl of soup that you are eating in the kitchen. Do not finish the bowl of soup. And those were your Love Actually horoscopes for your cat. Here's Ellie. Thanks to Ellie Jade. Founded in 1978, today is National Appreciation Day for things that were put somewhere safe. Observe this day by carefully retracing your steps and opening increasingly unlikely cupboards. The day commemorates humanity's collective belief that putting something somewhere safe guarantees that it will vanish immediately forever. So, hats off to National Appreciation Day for things that were put somewhere safe. Here's Underwhelming.
Thanks, Brian. I'm Toby Finch, and this is today's edition of Underwhelming. Fact number 1, most pillowcases cool on both sides at nearly identical rates, despite strong anecdotal evidence suggesting otherwise. Fact number 2, the average biro lid clicks shut with a force marginally stronger than the force required to open it. This imbalance has no known consequences. Fact number 3, in colder weather, standard bathroom mirrors fog fractionally faster around the edges. creating patterns scientists describe as visually indeterminate. And fact number 4, the typical bath towel reaches peak softness for approximately 3 washes before beginning its slow, inevitable decline into being just another old towel. And that's this week's edition of Underwhelming. Back to you, Brian.
Thanks to Toby. Today's birthday of someone you've never heard of is Derek Plimpton, brick enthusiast. He's 64 today. Derek became briefly influential after predicting that breeze blocks will one day become more popular than bricks when precast masonry units are routinely used during the construction of poor quality buildings such as garage extensions and granny annexes. Derek now tours Europe lecturing chimney stacks on the importance of giving up smoking. His autobiography, Another Brick in the Wall, sold 17 copies, 3 of which were to himself, having forgotten that he'd already bought the book twice. And that was today's birthday of someone you've never heard of. Here's the Whispering Fish.
Tonight I tried to relax, but I approached it with such determination that it became another task to complete. I monitored my own calmness, evaluated my breathing, graded my level of ease. Relaxation doesn't appreciate supervision. It slips away the moment you try to confirm its presence. Eventually, I gave up and just sat there, unsuccessfully unwinding. It was the closest I got to succeeding. I'm a fish, by the way.
The Whispering Fish. Time now for more prophetic insights with our very own Queen of the Future, Ophelia Zodiac.
Good day, good people. I'm Ophelia Zodiac, and here is my profligate prophecy for this week. Keep an eye on your mirrors. In 2 months' time, bathroom mirrors worldwide will briefly fog up. Not from steam, but independently, at exactly 4:44 a.m. local time. The fog will last precisely 90 seconds, then clear, leaving faint geometric patterns resembling constellations, but not any known to astronomers. Scientists will dismiss it as condensation anomalies. Conspiracy forums will thrive. A statement from IKEA will confirm their mirrors are functioning as designed. Astrologers will suggest a cosmic alignment too subtle for telescopes. By day 3, amateur photographers will document coordinated patterns across continents. A mathematician will propose the shapes represent a non-Euclidean map. Someone will overlay the data, revealing a shifting, spiraling diagram. Then, just as suddenly as it began, the phenomenon will stop. No more spontaneous fog. Mirrors silent, but sales of anti-fog coatings will spike. And in a niche academic journal, a footnote will quietly suggest the message was received. Wipe gently, good people. Reflections sometimes look back. I've been Ophelia Zodiac. You're very welcome.
Ophelia Zodiac, today's arbitrarily chosen word of the week now, and today's word is percolation, the precise sensation experienced when a perfectly ordinary idea becomes mysteriously more important because it has remained in your head for 3 days. Put the word in a sentence, Brian. All right, I will. Example 1. By Thursday, Martin's theory that all supermarkets secretly prefer triangular fruit had reached full percolation. Example 2. After 6 hours of discussion, the committee achieved full percolation and approved 17 unnecessary new bylaws. And example 3, the Duchess cancelled the refurbishment after experiencing severe percolation regarding decorative gravel. Scholars agree that percolation should be treated respectfully and never given access to a whiteboard. And that's your arbitrarily chosen word of the week, percolation. Use it 3 times a day with a sip of water. Here's Grandpa Biscuits with Back in the Day.
Back in the day, funerals were community events, not quiet little calendar entries. The whole town showed up. even folks who barely knew the dead person. Daddy took us all to the funeral of a man called Hank. His wife had killed him by accident while she was cleaning his gun. There were casseroles as far as the eye could see. Stories told about Hank in low voices that sometimes turned into laughter, which always felt slightly illegal. Hank's wife was there with her new fancy man, but nobody blinked an eye. Grief wasn't tidy. It spilled over, and sometimes somebody would say something outdated or insensitive in an attempt at comfort. But you knew they meant well. Mostly, loss felt shared, heavy, but shared. These days, it feels like even sorrow's been scheduled. Back then, it lingered like the smell of coffee and lilies. Would you like to hear about the time I gave a eulogy for a woman who turned out to be alive?
Grandpa Biscuits at 103, still distrusting automatic doors and refusing to pick up roadkill. Still to come, Guess the Mayor, in which contestants identify civic leaders by their fingerprints. But first, today's interesting fact for clever people who talk loudly in restaurants.
Interesting facts for clever people who talk loudly in restaurants.
Long before modern alarm clocks became common, many towns employed people known as knocker-uppers. Their entire job was waking people for work. They would walk through the streets, tapping windows with long poles, rattling shutters, or occasionally using pea shooters for upper floors. Remarkably, they themselves had to wake up on time in order to wake everyone else up, creating one of history's least forgiving professions. Imagine explaining to your employer that you overslept while employed specifically to prevent others from oversleeping. And that was today's interesting fact for clever people who talk loudly in restaurants. And this is Gentleman's Relish.
Thank you, Brian. As you know, each week I share one of my favourite hobbies or pastimes with your audience. This week, crown green bowling, which I always think sounds faintly ecclesiastical, as if presided over by a bishop wielding a particularly polished jack. Bowling is geometry disguised as leisure. One studies the bias of the wood, the slope of the crown, and the whispering treachery of the green. It's the only sport where the terrain conspires against you with the quiet malevolence of a damp sponge cake. There is delicious tension in a slow roll. The wood arcs, seduced by gravity, while one stands in contemplative suspense, pondering life's great questions. Will it clip the jack, or veer off like an unmotivated teenager? I wear whites, of course, compulsory uniform at my bowling club, not for fashion but for tradition, also for visibility against the hedges on an overcast day should one's enthusiasm overshoot. Rivalries are genteel yet fierce. We nod politely before attempting emotional ruin. Strategies whispered like espionage secrets. Aim left, the grass lies treacherous there. Victory is measured in inches, pride in millimeters, and tea is dutifully sipped afterwards. If life veers unexpectedly, blame the bias, then adjust, and pour another cuppa.
Thanks, Neville. Gentleman's Relish has applied to be recommissioned for the next series and will be assessed according to the usual overcomplicated criteria. Up next, it's Hello. This is Angela Lansbury.
Hello. This is Angela Lansbury. People often say to me, Angela, what's your view on getting old? The answer is easy. I think that it's a privilege wrapped in moisturizer. There's pressure to either deny entirely or embrace aging as a brand. I prefer complete neutrality. Time passes. Get used to it. Adapt or die. There's real freedom in caring less about getting older. I call it substitutionary locomotion. Yes, you will reach a stage where you'll send food back if it's cold. That's just personal growth. Wisdom isn't mystical. It's just accumulated trial and error with slightly better lighting. The goal isn't to look younger. It's to look like yourself well-rested and mildly amused, to look like you're meant to be there. Invest in comfort, a good moisturizer, and big pants. Value friendship. Seek out laughter that makes you forget what you were worried about. That's the upgrade. Do you mind if I use your bathroom?
Thanks to Angela Lansbury. Well, that's it. The clock has beaten us again and our time's up for another week. That was Luff Actually with me, Brian Luff, in which we learnt that today's designated emotion was purposeful bewilderment. The answer to this week's Before They Were Them was Christopher Walken was a lion tamer, a background dancer and a child actor, although you could argue that child actor is the same profession as actor. Anyway, that's the answer. And the solution to today's alive, dead or fictional was dead. Tommy Handley was a British comedian and broadcaster best remembered for the hugely popular radio programme Itmar during the 1940s. Known for his rapid delivery and cheerful chaos, he became one of radio's defining personalities. My dad worked with Tommy Handley. My dad was a backing singer back in those days. Well done if you got that right, but no prize for you.
I think we've heard enough. Brian Luff.
Before we go, just enough time for All You Need Is Luff, and my deep and meaningful thought of the week this week is, if every decision creates a different possible future, somewhere in the universe there is a version of you who became Prime Minister, so just be grateful that that didn't happen. See you next week, Sensation Seekers, and I'll leave you with another new song from Sonny Keys and the Flat Notes. This is called Poet on the Fire Escape.
There's a mean old jukebox scratching in the corner of the bar. Rain streaking silver splashes down the hood of my old car. Maria dances slow with the waiters after 2, while the cops sweep up the avenue like they always do. I got a notebook full of hard love and a pocket full of dust. Every dream I ever trusted got eaten up by rust. And the boys downstairs are laughing through a cloud of cigarette smoke, while I'm 5 floors up with the city and a prayer I never spoke. There's a poet on the fire escape, watching hearts go down in flames, turning car noise into scripture, giving broken hearts a name. He's hanging by a thread of faith, trying to set his spirit free. Yeah, there's a poet on the fire escape, and it's me. Jimmy wears his daddy's jacket like a holy hand-me-down. Says the factory is now a graveyard on the other side of town. Everybody's looking for a ladder, looking for a sign, some kind of sacred reason not to leave themselves behind. There's a poet on the fire escape, watching hearts go down in flames, turning car noise into scripture, giving broken hearts a name. He's hanging by a thread of faith, trying to set his spirit free. Yeah, there's a poet on the fire escape, and it's me. Yeah, these streets are just a river, and let 'em carry me tonight, through the thunder and the alleyways, through the cars and flashing lights. 'Cause somewhere in the static, somewhere in the midnight ache, there's a song waiting to save us from every chance that we don't take. The girls lean from the windows when the summer heat won't break, like saints called out of neon from mistakes we cannot make. I hear a started singing somewhere underneath the moon. Like, I forgot this neighborhood, but might remember soon. There's a poet on the fire escape, watching hearts go down in flames, turning car noise into scripture, giving broken hearts a name. He's hanging by a thread of fate, trying to set his spirit free. Yeah, there's a poet on the fire escape, and it's me.
Luff Actually was written and presented by Brian Luff, who also composed all the music, which was performed by our house band, Sunny Keys and the Flat Notes. In no particular order, this week's podcast featured Gus the Sofa, The Whispering Fish, Barry Comover, Toby Finch, Ellie Jade, The Coloring Lady, Ophelia Zodiac, Grandpa Biscuits, Neville Montague, The Genie of the Lava Lamp, and Angela Lansbury. The announcer was the legendary Mr. Downtown Don Vale. Luff Actually was produced by Georgina Sowerby and Brian Luff. Voice and music technology by 11 Labs. All celebrity voices were impersonated. Luff Actually was recorded at the Broadway Radio Theater and glued together at the Production Village for Studio Senseless. Email us. We'd love to hear from you. Brian@theproductionvillage.com. I'm Tex Magnum, and I'm wearing a surgical truss.